So for 2024, the CB500F is out and the CB500 Hornet is in. Now it boasts the Hornet namesake, but is it deserving of it? Let's find out. So for the most part, this is just the CB500F in its engine and its brakes and pretty much everything else. So there haven't really been that many changes to the CB500F to make it become the CB500 Hornet. Most notably, it's the aggressive new styling. It picks up the Hornet faceplate, the aggressive angles, and the Hornet Stinger-like taillight. For the most part, it's got the same engine, the same brakes, the same suspension, and pretty much everything else. It does, however, pick up the new 5-inch TFT display found on the new NX500 and CBR500R. So talking about the engine, it's the same 471cc parallel twin double overhead cam, and it cranks out about 47 horsepower, which is right at the top of the A2 allowance, and there's a reason for that. Honda have designed this bike to squeeze the most possible power out of this engine they can to allow A2 riders to sit right at the top of the pile. Honda have made some changes to allow for lower down acceleration and explosive power in the mid-range, and it does feel really, really great. Compared to my 2018 one, I'd say this is well worth the upgrade. Now it has 43 Newton meters of torque, which is a really nice thing that I like about the 500s within the A2 market. You see things from KTM like the 390 Duke, and up until recently the Kawasaki 400s, which have since been replaced by the 500 range, and I think that's down to being able to squeeze more torque out of these bikes. The Hondas have always done it really well. I had a 2018 CBR 500R and it just felt like a proper big bike. As for braking, a few years back they picked up the twin discs on the front, and this year we've got 296mm twin discs with 4-piston Nissin calipers, and the braking feel is phenomenal. It's probably the best braking feel I've had through an A2 bike, and that is thanks to the twin discs. You can bring yourself to a really nice progressive stop, and if you need to, you can jam them on and the ABS will cut in, but it will bring you to the emergency stop that you'd need it to. Suspension comes in the form of 41mm Showa big piston separate function forks up front. Now they do work really well at soaking up the lumps and the bumps, but they are non-adjustable, and on the rear we've got a Showa monoshock, which is 5-stage preload adjustable, so if you're going 2 up or if you're a bit on the heavier side, you do have that flexibility. On the road and in the corners especially, the suspension is phenomenal. I've always thought Honda have done a great job with these bikes and the suspension setup, so big thumbs up from me. Talking about the dash now, it does pick up the new 5-inch dash that is found on the NX and the CBR 500R. It's quite similar to the one found on the CB750 Hornet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's pretty much the same. It shows the basic things like your fuel consumption, your total miles, your speed. It's got a clock on there. But a new feature that has been plumbed in with all of this technology is the Honda Selectable Torque Control, which is essentially traction control. You get levels of adjustability and it is switchable just on the handlebars here, which is a nice touch. Now the one we are test riding does have heated grips. They are an optional extra from Honda and they do work really well, but that is going to set you back £325, which is quite a lot of money. So if you decide to go aftermarket, it's probably the right move. It's LED lighting all round this year with indicators and headlight and the tail light as well, and it does really light up the road well. We've mainly been riding in the daytime, but you can even see it full beam. You can pick it up on the concrete during the middle of the day, so it's just testament to how good they are, and I'm sure you'll be very visible. So it's got a 17.1 litre tank on it, and Honda claim you're going to get around 80 mpg, so it's an estimated sort of 300 miles on a full tank, which is fantastic. But in personal experience of owning one of these, I did find that it was more around 60 mpg, but I don't know if that's just the nature of A2 riders. We've just got our first big bikes and we just want to string them out as hard as we possibly can. So if you're being sensible, I do think you can get closer to that 80 miles per gallon figure, giving you a very, very healthy 300 miles on a full tank. So we've got 17-inch wheels front and rear. We've got a 160 wide tyre on the rear and a 120 on the front. Now we're running Michelin Road 6s and they're incredibly good for this type of bike. You know, these kinds of bikes are going to do it all. It's not going to be a sunny day ride unless you're inclined to that, but ultimately in the wet and in the dry, these tyres are going to do a really good job and they feel really grippy in the corners. And this bike's only got a couple 100 miles on it. The tyres are fresh and grippy as ever, and you can really stick it into the corners. So with some of the changes Honda have made stylistically and throughout the bike, it does shave off a couple kilos compared to the 2022 CB500F, so it weighs in at 188 kilograms wet. On the road you don't feel the weight, but in manual handling you do feel it, so it's just something to be aware of, especially if you're looking at all of the A2 bikes. If weight is a concern for you, you may need to look elsewhere, but they are substantial bikes and the weight on the road just disappears. Now, the seat height on this is 785mm. For me, I stand about 6 foot tall and it's pretty much spot on. The way the foot pegs are positioned, the riding position is really nice. You're kind of upright. You don't feel like your knees are bent too much. It's just very, very comfortable. Something Honda have always done really well is make comfortable, practical bikes, and this is just another one of them. So for 2024, the CB500 Hornet costs £6,199 and it comes in 3 colorways. You've got this pearl white, you've got a Grand Prix red, which is the classic 500 colorway. I love the Grand Prix red, and then there's also black. Now, some people may see this as a bit of a downside because you just get black, red and white, but for me, I think each color has its own right and it does it very well. So also tying into the 5-inch TFT, you do have access to Honda Road Sync with app connectivity for your mobile phone. Now that allows you to enable the things like turn-by-turn navigation, you can control your music, and I'm sure there'll be some sort of trip meters and things like on there, so if you finish your ride and you want to take a look at where you've been, it'll all be on your phone. So that's my quick rundown on the CB500 Hornet from Honda. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Be sure to comment your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to head over to the Carol Nash website to check out my full blog. See you in the next one.